Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. Happy Eclipse Day, I guess. Today is the day that we go and told.
Oh, I don't think in all of the 600 plus shows that we've done, I don't think I've ever heard you sing.
Well, you know,
the eclipse made you do it.
Yeah, you know, it is the sun being so far away from Earth
Yes.
and the moon being so close.
Yes, when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie.
It's gonna hit them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, what do you think? It's going to be an interesting day. Do you expect that there'll be any problems, or will it just get dark and get light again? What do you think?
You know, I don't know. The animals are already acting up. They were doing that yesterday and started kind of like the day before. And, you know, if you paid attention, the animals were acting strange. And that's because things were getting into position just like,
I got to tell you something. I know that I'm old, that when you said the animals are acting strange, the first thing I thought of was Eric Burden and the animals.
You got to get out of this place.
That's the first thing I thought of. Ay, ay, ay.
Well, you know, there's some truth to that song in the news today, but got to get out of this place. But
Bill,
I
over
don't
the
know.
weekend we had, and nobody is really talking about this except for people who saw it and news outlets that are in that area up in the New York State, Philadelphia area.
Yeah.
But there were over the weekend at least 70 Army helicopters that were flown from Rome, New York to Philadelphia. Yeah.
What you got to realize, I think it's Watertown or something like that. It's along the big lake up there.
Yeah.
When you go up that way, going to Canada, but you know, to the left is the lake. To the right, you go back about 10, 15 miles. There is a
Lake
big
Champlain?
base. I forget, but there's a big military installation there. But I mean, we're not talking, a couple, 200-300 troops or a couple thousand. There's tens of thousands of troops there. Have been for a while. I only know this because one time between radio jobs, somebody that owned a big station up there that covered the United States and went into Canada said, "Hey, you want to come up here and take a look around?" And which I did. You know, what the heck, they paid, I'd go. But there was that big military installation. So there is a lot of troops up there, and there's a lot of hardware up there. The question is, because I saw that, people were talking, over the weekend. I'm going, wait a minute, they're flying over Scranton. That's my backyard, and they had these big gunships that carry troops.
Yeah,
and they were flying them, Saturday, Sunday, and I think Friday too. And the rest of them go up today.
Well, here's what it says: a number of U.S. Army helicopters could be seen flying through the sky throughout the weekend, but they always put this clause on. There's no cause for alarm. It's just like when a bridge collapses or some major thing happens, they say, oh, it's not terrorism. According to the Lehigh Valley International Airport, approximately 70 helicopters are using the airport as a staging area for refueling. 70. Now, I've been around a long time. I've even been in the military. I don't think I've seen 70 helicopters move at one time. And by the way, if they wanted to do it and there was a clandestine reason for them to do it, do you think they'd say, ha, you caught us. There's a clandestine reason that we're moving these people from this base.
Let me ask you, they use tanks, right? I mean, you're talking about
absolutely.
Abrams tanks.
All the time, yeah. Tanks are...
because, the columns of tanks we're seeing going down the interstate past Harrisburg towards Philly.
Yeah, and we didn't hear this from, hearsay. This was from somebody who witnessed it, somebody we both know.
Yeah, I was passing them, and they were passing me, and they were all over the place. How many? Well, there was a ton of them, man. They were everywhere. Oh, okay. That's a lot. But, I started thinking about it. Mm-hmm. Actually, my brother tipped me off, and, which I didn't think about it. But, they're all going to Lehigh Valley. Philly is really where they're going. Well, south of Philly, just a stone's throw away, is Dover Air Force Base.
Right.
You know what's at Dover? Yeah, the
Delaware.
C-5s. The Galaxy C-5s, the big cargo transport that they put.
Oh yeah, if they wanted to move
helicopters,
if they wanted to move a lot of equipment overseas quickly, this would be part of the move.
Yeah, I will. It'll either be out of the one in Massachusetts or there for the East Coast. So it made me go, well, maybe there's nothing going on. I mean, you could conspirize, well, something's going to happen in D.C. or something
Right.
like that. But then you've got the Israel-Iraq conflict.
Right.
You've got the war in the Ukraine and Russia, two hot spots. Maybe there's Taiwan too. Are we getting ready, maybe positioned to deploy some
Well,
hardware?
you heard, maybe you didn't hear, over the weekend, it was reported that most of the Israeli troops in Gaza have moved out and have moved back into Israel. And some people are speculating, well, the first thing they said, well, they're doing it as a breather. Other people are saying, no, they're doing it because Iran is positioning itself to attack Israel. And maybe what's happening is we have decided that we have to have a quick response to help aid Israel. I don't know. Maybe those troops and equipment are going to be going to the Middle East.
Yeah,
I don't know.
or maybe there's something known that we don't know. The end of the day, if there was something nefarious going on
Now,
in these here United States, we'll know about it.
my friend, it just seems strange that it's all happening on eclipse weekend.
But that's the perfect time to do something or stage something because everyone, they'll all be talking about this. They won't know what we're really up to. So
What's interesting,
I
Bill,
don't
have
know.
you noticed how few stories there are online about the eclipse? This is a major event, and it's like they're trying to downplay it in the news. You would think that would
Well,
be top of the headlines.
Well, the one thing, there is an experiment going on. It seems that under the cloak of darkness, there's a lot of experiments. One I told you about before the podcast, but the superconductor,
Right.
the CERN superconductor. They say they're firing that up for an experiment today. Well, friends, let me tell you something. You have to get that up and running for an experiment today. You had to start it a while back because it's got to get up and build its rotation and speed. But their hopes, according to just going to Alexa or for me it's Ziggy and asking what it is. Oh, they're doing a test on dark matter. Well, what's dark matter? Well, that's where they could potentially create a wormhole.
Right.
And if they create a wormhole, well, that would that could have the potential of sucking away life as we know it, and probably
And when is it going to reach its peak? Today.
probably today, a devastating hour of 3 o'clock. Here's my question for you. Okay. Look, the history says out of experiments, 9 out of 10, 90% of experiments end in catastrophic failure. As a matter of fact, most experiments of any significance all end in
Hey,
tragedy.
if you don't believe that, look at some of the early films of guys testing their airplane creations. Guys trying to fly off buildings and breaking their.
One of the guys working on the Manhattan Project, he flashed himself with in the experiment. I think they have it in the movies, and then he ended up getting radiated and died weeks later. But things end badly.
Yeah.
Even if you're so smart and you've got the math so perfected, and you're talking about a black hole, don't do it. You're stupid.
So, and what gets me is we've spent billions and billions of dollars apparently on this Hadron Collider at
Why do we
CERN.
need it? Why do we need it?
We don't need it.
What's it going to do for us?
We're going to
Is it
create a
gonna
black
do
hole.
anything?
For what reason?
Well,
Some
I
people
think,
say it's time travel. Some people believe there's time travel involved with this. I don't know. All I can
we're
tell
so
you is,
smart with computers now. Can't we give the sum of all of our knowledge to a computer and hypothetically create it?
hey, I would submit that we're having enough time dealing with the time we're living in. Why would we want to go into another dimension and try to deal with it there? Let's take care of time in this reality and not some other reality down the road.
Yeah. It's just strange things. It's funny how there's a big weird eclipse going on. This is the point. This eclipse is special because the moon is the closest to the earth it's been in quite some time, and the sun is at its farthest, hence that you get that total eclipse. But there's some significance to it. So,
Bill, I was
strange
just
things could happen.
absolutely this 70 helicopter thing though did pique my interest over the weekend because I think they're not being straight with us. We don't know what's going to happen. You know, the idea of it being shipped overseas makes sense, but I don't think they would hide that. I think that they would probably say that these guys are preparing for redeployment overseas, and that would be it. But they're kind of hiding it, like, oh, we're just moving some equipment. That's what they're saying.
What if they sit there and say, oh, there's an insurrection going on, an attack on the White House, or a staged attack, or the appearance of one? In other words, it could all be a ruse. It could be an exercise, and just somebody thought, wait, let's get everybody's attention. Let's do an exercise during that so everybody will talk. Isn't that funny?
Well, there is other people out there who, and you probably have heard about this, who believe that it's a military coup, the beginning of a military coup. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's out there, folks. I'm just letting you know. But what you probably haven't heard, because you all have busy lives over the weekend, is that there was a massive movement of military equipment in the Northeast from upstate New York to the Philadelphia area, and they're not being straight with us as far as what's going on. They're saying they're just moving some equipment around.
Well, let me ask you a question. Well, not ask. I'll just make a statement here. You and I live in the Northeast.
Right.
So we notice that. Just like the earthquake the other day, we notice it because we're in the Northeast. We talk to people that live in the Northeast, and they tell you what's going on in their life today and what they see. That was how this news came out. You know, people looking out in their backyard going, what the hell are all these copters going on? It's never happened before.
Yeah, exactly.
So they see that. Could something like this be going on? Oh, I don't know, down in Alabama.
Sure it
or
could.
Out in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Bill, I've been in the South West, and I can remember one time we were on a bus tour. When you get older, you go on a lot of bus tours. I kind of like bus tours. You don't have to drive. You know, when you're younger, you feel like you have to be behind the wheel. When you're older, it's like, okay, just take me where you want to take me. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I can remember looking out and seeing a massive train filled with tanks, U.S. tanks, and it just kept going and going. They were shipping tanks, but nobody was making a big deal out of it because it's, the Southwest, and there's nothing but coyotes and rattlesnakes out there. You know, there weren't a lot of people to see it, but maybe they move equipment around more often than not, you know, we just aren't paying attention. Although, Bill, the tanks being shipped in the Northeast, they could have shipped them on train too.
Well, let me add some conspiracy here.
Oh, I like this.
Okay, now you know I gave you a little tidbit about that ship in Baltimore,
right? What
was on it and how it's going to affect
That's interesting. Yes, very interesting.
But before we talk about that, let's talk about another overloaded cargo ship.
Right. Oh, I know where you're going with this.
New York.
Yes. Nobody's talking about this, Bill.
Last night, the engines went out, the power went out as she was coming in.
Bill, you're not supposed to be paying attention to that, really. And let me explain something, having worked in this area. This is the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. It is a huge, very important bridge in New York. Very important bridge. By the way, it's built kind of like the one in Baltimore, you know, like a couple of support spans, and then it just hangs out there. Well, you can now tell them the rest of the story.
Well, the rest of the story is what I just told you on that particular ship. What's on it, I don't know. If it hits something, because we haven't gotten that word yet that it hit anything, but boy, if that took something out. I know a week ago somebody was going, oh, gee, that ship hitting the bridge, pardon me for saying so, just an accident. I mean, what are the chances it could happen again? Well, Bill, tell you about New York.
Well, then I'll give you the rest of the story, all right? It takes normally, they had 2 tugs working that ship. They needed 4 to stop it and redirect it because it lost power and steering. It was headed towards the Verrazano Narrows Bridge.
Do you think that was just a coincidence?
Hey, look they'll tell you it is. They'll tell you it is. They'll say, oh, look at, you just can't put
Any other ports that we ought to be worried about? Like, I don't know, down in South Carolina. I don't know, down in Florida. They're shutting down to Maersk is going to quit using the Panama Canal because it's not deep enough for the ships anymore.
Well, there's a lot going on. They moved a lot of the shipping down to Savannah, from what I understand. But then I also heard they moved it to Philly. And where was the other? Was it?
Philly's another place that could get hit with it.
But we're not supposed to be paying attention to stuff
and
like that.
And what about the West Coast?
Well,
San Francisco, San Diego.
Yeah. Long Beach area. That I know. Absolutely.
I mean, it just kind of started, once, okay, I get it. Twice, we got to be careful here. Is there going to be a third time, or has there been a third time that we just haven't been privy to?
Yep. Well, it's going to be a strange week, I think. I do think, by the way, this is going to be an interesting day as far as this eclipse goes. I think it's just going to get dark, and then it's just going to get light again. I'm hoping that's all that happens, and everybody will say, wasn't that amazing? But
hey, look, it's a beautiful morning today. I mean, it looks great, but, there's always a calm before the storm. So
it's cloudy in Pittsburgh,
Yeah, it's beautiful here. I mean, you had that nice little bright orange puffs in the, the reflections in the clouds. It's a beautiful morning. I was going, this is going to be a great day. So I don't know, but, I think the wackos are going to be out. My plans for today is to sit on my butt at home.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
They'll have to come into your house and find you if they're doing something.
Yeah. I'll hang a note. Yeah. Mr. Knight lives here. Yeah. No, I won't.
Hey,
no, I won't.
So another thing that happened over the weekend, in case you haven't heard, one of the biggest airline business airplane manufacturers in the country is being attacked from the right and the left, and basically they're saying that it's because they've gotten so deep into the diversity, equity, and inclusion business that they've fallen down on the and so a lot of things have happened to their planes. Panels have fallen off and things like that. And over the weekend, if you were listening to air traffic, you might have heard this.
Let's go ahead and declare an emergency for Southwest 3695, and we'd like an immediate return. We got a piece of the engine cowling hanging off, apparently. Southwest 3695, roger that. Turn left heading 190, clear to Denver via radar vectors. Left turn heading 190, Southwest 3695.
No, I have to tell you, if you get a second, look at the video of this online. It's out there. A lot of people who were on that plane took video out the window. And here's this beautiful airplane, Boeing 737-800, and the right engine cowling. Somebody, I think, just forgot to clamp it. They have clamps on them that lock them into place.
Are you starting to get the picture, though, that it's always the Boeing planes, and it's not all construction.
Yeah.
That happens to be maintenance. And, with the commonality of it now and the pinpointing of Boeing planes, it's an attack. That's what I look at. It's sabotage. There's somebody with an agenda. Now, some people, I've heard the narrative a while back, that airline's in trouble because they once did business with Trump, and anything they can do, they can pin on Trump. They sure as hell will.
Well, they're all out after Trump big time, and I'll tell you why. He's killing them in the polls. And you heard about last week, Joe Biden had a record-breaking benefit for him at Radio City Music Hall in New York, and they made $25 million, and the press went nuts. It was the largest take of any one night in the history of politics. They were just amazed by it until this weekend, Trump had a function for him in Florida, and he doubled it. He made over $50 million, and the media's like, oh, well. The media's doing nothing. The media no longer reports the news. The media, it massages the stories to shape the news. That's all.
Well, that's correct. Let's back this bus up a little bit.
I like
and talk
that.
about. Yeah, you like to back the bus up.
I do. Yes.
Make sure there's no one behind. We might run over a liberal journalist or two,
Yes,
but you know.
might.
You know, with them reshaping the news about Trump and everything and his fundraising, and, you know, for a while, everyone knew that Trump's numbers were runaway, and now they're trying to say that Joe's picking up. Now, the latest thing out there's a weird thing going on in the statistics. Now, it's not saying, nor does it say, that Trump is losing the older base, the boomers, the senior citizens. Republicans have always done well traditionally with the older crowd. Democrats have done well with the youth. Now there is a flip in the dynamics, they say, because there are boomers, or they say, that like Joe a little bit more, but Trump hasn't lost his numbers there. But where Trump has really gained and Joe has lost, but they're saying, well, Joe's got him now. He's getting those older numbers. Trump's still got his older numbers, but the youth are abandoning the Democrats, and Joe in particular. They don't like this guy. And as a matter, you know, he's trying to get them student forgiveness, and they're going, screw you, Joe. And they're going to Trump. They're flipping to Republicans.
Robert Kennedy, I think he's running an interesting campaign. I'm not really sure where he's going, but they asked him, what do you think? Do you think Trump is a threat to democracy? And Kennedy said, no. It is not Trump that is the threat to democracy. No. It is Biden who is the threat to democracy. And I say that having been the target of one of his actions. Well, for example, here is the son of an assassinated American presidential candidate and the nephew of an assassinated president. And when he decided to run for president, Joe Biden denied him Secret Service protection. And to this day, has not given him Secret Service protection.
You know, the Democrats like to say that they own democracy. It's our democracy. It's our democracy. There is no threat against democracy. The threat is democracy. The Democrats, their democracy. That is the threat to.
I would submit that their policies aren't democracy. Their policy is socialism.
Yeah. Now here's something you're going to start hearing in the news. You know that because Wolf Blitzer is the guy that came out with the phrase, and he did it. It's a hack job, by the way. When you hear it, because you're going to hear the Democrats this week crying that Trump is calling those illegals animals. He didn't say that.
No.
The only person he talked about being an animal is the man that killed that young lady.
That's right. They do that all the time, Bill. They warp his statements.
But they did a hack job on the speech and said, you know, you go and listen to the speeches. Take your time and listen to the exact speech. Not with Wolf Blitzer blows out his butt. You know, don't listen to him.
Well,
don't listen to the left.
J.D. Vance was talking about.
Find out yourself.
J.D. Vance, the senator from Ohio, he was on, I believe, with Maria Bartiromo over the weekend, talking about how important it is to get Trump into office. Listen.
Senator, you just relayed one of the horrible stories that we hear over and over again as a result of the unknown attached to the wide open border. You've been to the border plenty of times. Why is it that the Republicans cannot really move the needle on securing the border? You're coming back to work next week, this upcoming week, after your Easter recess, and it sounds like the priority is money to Ukraine. There's a $95 billion foreign military aid package. Maybe it comes to the floor not this week, but next week. Regardless, when can you secure the border and how?
Well, let me just say, first of all, Maria, this illustrates the need for a President Trump round two. We know that the Biden administration has thrown open the floodgates here. They have undone a lot of Trump-era immigration policy, and we've seen the effects. But I don't want to let congressional Republicans off the hook here, because we actually do have leverage. We just have to be willing to actually use it. I think Speaker Johnson is a good guy, but if he brings up a foreign aid package, sending billions of dollars to Ukraine without doing anything on the southern border, it will be a disgrace and a massive betrayal, not just of Republican voters, but of the entire country. Why would people elect Republicans if Republicans are more focused on the border of another country than the border of our own country? So I hope Speaker Johnson really shows some steely resolve here, pushes back against the craziness, and tells the Biden administration, you don't get a dime for your foreign priorities until you do your job and secure the border. And in the meantime, we've got to do everything we can to reelect Donald Trump, because if we had him, we wouldn't be dealing with a president who wants to have an open border.
J.D. Vance from Ohio. You know, I have some audio from Speaker Johnson talking about what he plans on doing when he gets back. They're coming back, I guess, this week, Bill, Congress. And he sounds like he's got it all together, but when I hear him talk about doing things in the Ukraine and not mentioning the border, I get a little concerned. But this is Speaker Johnson when he was being interviewed a couple of days ago.
What are realistic expectations when you only have one half of 1/3 of government, and that includes GOP members from districts where Joe Biden actually won?
Yeah, you defined it pretty well. You just described the modern Congress, and that's the environment in which we have to perform. Happy Easter, Trey. Thanks for having me on. There are a lot of things that we really wish more of the American people understood. This is not an easy job right now, as you noted, but we will get it done. Look, we have the smallest majority literally right now in U.S. history. We have a 1-vote margin. You saw the numbers there that are divided, but when you do the math to get a majority vote, I can only lose 1. So we're not going to get the legislation that we all desire and prefer. If we had the Senate and we had the White House, if Republicans were in charge, as we were several years ago, we would be doing the things we want to do. But right now, oftentimes, we have to play defense. We got to stop the Biden agenda. And by God's grace, we've been able to do that. I mean, that's what our majority is used for. But there's 3 things we need to do right now, Trey. And I'm trying to be an ambassador of hope on Easter Sunday, right? Look, we can do this job and we can grow the majority, and we have to do that to save the republic. That's clear. In the November elections, we can do it. But what we have to do is 3 simple things. We have to show the American people what we're for, not just what we're against. We have to be able to stand for those core principles and explain and show the contrast between us and the radical leftists that are destroying every metric of public policy. Number 2, we have to unite. We have to stand together, because when we do that, especially with a razor-thin majority as we have, we'll have better negotiation in the back room. We'll be able to have greater standing when we argue with the Democrats about it. Third, look, we've got to drive our conservative agenda and get the incremental wins that are still possible right now. We're for securing the border, standing up to China, unleashing American energy, saving American jobs, doing the things that the American people want us to do. But we got to realize I can't throw a Hail Mary pass on every single play. It's 3 yards in a cloud of dust, right? We got to get the next first down, keep moving, and we'll do that, and we can show the American people what we're for.
You've always been a person of hope and faith, which is why I enjoy talking to you while we were colleagues, because I'm a hopeless cynic, and you actually are hopeful. Let's go to one issue. There are members who want to provide aid or loan to Ukraine and others who do not. So as the Speaker of the House, how do you decide what to put on the floor, how much of the majority is enough, and when to put it on the floor?
Yeah, great question. Look, what we have to do in an era of divided government, historically as we are, is you got to build consensus. If we want to move a partisan measure, I've got to have every single member, literally. And some things need to be bipartisan. Now, we're talking about the supplemental that everybody's heard so much about, which is the thing that the president presented several months ago. He called it the National Security Supplemental, and he included Ukraine, Israel, the Taiwan Indo-Pacific region, and also the border. And we said, thank you, Mr. President, because we've all said, if we're going to talk about national security, it begins at our own border. And so we've been trying to use that as the only leverage we have to force change on the border. We're still trying to force the president to use his executive authority. And most of the American people know that he has that authority, but he's not using it because they opened the border intentionally. But when it comes to the supplemental, we've been working to build that consensus. We've been talking to all the members, especially now over the district work period. When we return after this work period, we'll be moving a product, but it's going to, I think, have some important innovations. The Repo Act, if we could use the seized assets of Russian oligarchs to allow the Ukrainians to fight them, that's just pure poetry. Even President Trump has talked about the loan concept, where we set up, we're not just giving foreign aid, we're setting it up in a relationship where they can provide it back to us when the time is right. And then, we want to unleash American energy. We want to have natural gas exports that will help unfund Vladimir Putin's war effort there. There's a lot of things that we should do that are make more sense and that I think we'll have consensus around. We're putting that product together, and we'll be moving it right after the district work period.
Speaker Mike Johnson, he said a lot of right things there. He sounds like he's on the right page.
Well, it sounds like he does have got a plan and an agenda, and he is right. With a narrow majority, you don't even have it; just one person.
Yeah,
you got to find the battles that you can win, and which means you're giving up some ground here, but you got to take some other ground somewhere else.
Marjorie Taylor Greene said the problem is he seems to have given up on on just about everything. I mean, supposedly in this package that he's bringing back to Congress to approve, there's little mention of the border. He didn't use the border as the bargaining chip that Marjorie Taylor Greene said he should have used. So I got another clip from he wraps it up here, and he'll give us a better idea where he's going.
How does it help the GOP grow the majority to be talking about a motion to vacate instead of talking about the border or inflation or other issues that are better for the GOP? How does this motion to vacate help win back the majority or win a bigger majority?
I don't think it does. And I think all of my other Republican colleagues recognize this is a distraction from our mission. Again, the mission is to save the Republic. And the only way we can do that is if we grow the House majority, win the Senate, and win the White House. So we don't need any dissension right now. Look, Marjorie Taylor Greene filed the motion. It's not a privileged motion, so it doesn't move automatically. It's just hanging there. And she's frustrated. She and I exchanged text messages even today. We're going to talk early next week. Marjorie's a friend. She's very frustrated about, for example, the last appropriations bills. Guess what? So am I. As we discussed, Trey, these are not the perfect pieces of legislation that you and I and Marjorie would draft if we had the ability to do it differently. But with the smallest margin in U.S. history, we're sometimes going to get legislation that we don't like. And the Democrats know that when we don't all stand together with our razor-thin majority, then they have a better negotiation position. And that's why we got some of the things we didn't like. Now, we fought like warrior poets to keep some of those Senate appropriations or some of those Senate earmarks out of the bill. And we were successful in getting a lot of the terrible stuff out. But a few of them made it through, and that's what Marjorie's upset about, and I am too. But I want to talk with her about reforming the budgeting and spending process going forward. That's what Republicans are for. That's the transformational kind of changes that we can forge if we all stand together. Okay,
so here's the problem. He tells everybody that he's a staunch conservative, and he says all the right things when he's on mic. But then he goes and, you'll see him, for example, in the stairwell having a private conversation with Paul Ryan, who's a notorious rhino historically. And then you hear that he is in negotiations about this new bill, and he brings it back to Congress. There's very little mention about the border, and it's billions of dollars going to the Ukraine. And it's like, wait a second, in public, you're saying one thing. In private, you're doing another. So Marjorie Taylor Greene threw out a motion to vacate. Now, I guess there's two phases to it. She didn't implement the second phase, which brings it to a vote. She just says, I'm going to ask for a motion to vacate, and it hangs there. It's like the sword of Damocles. It can fall when she says so. So,
well, and it sounds like they're arguing semantics, too. I don't know. He is right in the fact that, if they charge forward with everything, they're not going to get anything because the Democrats will lock stock them out, and there's always going to be one or two guys that...
Let me ask you a question, Bill. Let's say the bill doesn't pass. The Democrats don't vote for what the Republicans want. The Republicans don't vote for what the Democrats want. So we go into default. Essentially, government stops. Is that a bad thing? Is it a bad thing?
In my mind, no, it's not. But you've got to look at the media too that will sit there and take that and spin it towards the Democrats. And there are enough wishy-washy Republican-hearted people out there that go, well, because they can be. A lot of the people are swayed.
They will say, and they've done this in the past when we've been in the same situation. They'll say, "Oh, the Social Security." It doesn't affect Social Security. It doesn't affect payment to military. It doesn't affect. There are certain things. The post office. These things are beyond the budget. There's money set aside for those things. They are not affected. But they will try to tell you. The congressmen and the senators will try to tell you, "Oh, it could affect your Social Security." No, it doesn't. It does not. They're two separate things. Go ahead.
It's funny you mentioned Social Security because I hear people on both sides. Well, there's not enough money to run Social Security. Yeah, it was never designed initially to be for people to live as long as they do. The average age when this came about to live after retirement was 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
That's all it was really ever designed for. It's become more than that. Democrats have borrowed against it, never repaid the money. That's a horse of a different color. But we are where we are, and it is something we depend on because our workforce does not support us to work much past retirement age of 65, 67, whatever it is, and the retiree is going to have to supplement that money anyway, or they're in. They automatically retire into poverty.
Let me tell you about the other end of the spectrum. There are people out there, and I am one of them, who believe in this rich country that we live in. If we were really concerned about the citizens and the retired citizens, we could do a lot better for them. I mean, what we pay the citizens right now is a damn shame. People say, what do you mean? No, I mean, it's just above poverty, okay? And then we tax them on it, by the way, that's a recent thing. That I say recent. I believe that happened in the Clinton administration. Up until that point, it wasn't taxed. It was not income taxed. You got your Social Security. That stood alone. It was your money. But now they're taxing your Social Security. We turn around, we pour all this money into the Ukraine, into Gaza, billions of dollars into all these foreign countries. We give these strangers who break into our country millions upon millions of dollars. We give them credit cards with $2,500 a month. We give them
that
all
money
these,
to our citizens,
and we don't give it to our own. We don't give it to our own people. And
it's all about getting votes. The illegals are about getting votes. Give them money. Let's get them signed up. Let's get those votes. You know where else we're going with the votes? Biden is for so long.
What if you took how many? You could give like $1 million to every retiree.
Yeah, you could, but there's more money out there. Let me just go down this path. Joe is committed to, paying off the debt, student debt. Now he hasn't gotten that through, and I don't think it's right that he does that. I'm sorry. You made a deal to pay back some money to go to school. That is your debt. It's just like if I go buy a $60,000 truck, I better pay for that thing or they're going to come take it away.
Exactly.
We'll take away you don't want to pay that debt, that's fine. Give back your degree, and if you got a job that depends on a degree, I'm sorry, you got to give it up to somebody that paid for their degree.
Like the millions of people before you who paid for their degrees.
But here's what Joe's doing now. He's going, well, it's not working. These people aren't supporting me. I'll just expand it to include 1 in 10 Americans. That's what he's proposing this morning, to pay off your student debt for 1 in 10 Americans, or roughly 30 million people. Why is he doing that? Because he loves you, Joe Biden, or because he wants your vote? Give that money to the seniors.
Now, let's talk about dictators for a second. The Supreme Court said that's illegal. He ignored them. He ignored the Supreme Court. He's doing it anyway. Just last week, an appellate court said, no, you can't do that. He's ignoring them. This guy is the dictator. He's flipping the proverbial fickle finger of fate to the justice system, and nothing is happening to him. Nothing. That's the thing that drives me nuts. They're going after Trump for breathing, and they turn around with this criminal in the White House, and they ignore every corrupt thing he does.
Yeah, they're going after Trump. The other thing that you don't realize, besides them going after everybody Trump, and everybody that rules in favor of Trump, they got to attack him. Oh, they don't deserve this. They're going after Truth Social, saying, well, even though it merged, it is the negative news that's tanking the stock because they're scaring investors with all the news and everything. Oh, no, we've got into the books. Well, here's what you don't see. Now, do you hear about CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, and their financial woes? Do you hear about all of the left rag media that's out there?
No.
You don't hear about them and their financial woes. As a matter of fact, they got dark money. Nobody talks about that. Dark money, which should be investigated.
Very good
but
point.
No,
Very good.
But wait, it goes further than you think. You're talking about truth, or after that. Do you know the SEC? The Security Exchange
Commission.
Yeah. At the behest of the White House, they're investigating Rumble. Oh, you got some books that are questionable. They started that in January. You know who else? There's another conservative news outlet out there, or that will allow conservatism, and that is Getter.
Oh,
and yes, they are attacking the X.
Yes.
And they're doing that. So anybody that houses any conservative, dissenting speech against them.
You know,
not dissenting, just
to give you an idea of the environment they're creating out there, did you hear about this, Bill? There's a guy, I believe he's in New Jersey, who has an RV, and he has all these Trump signs and banners on it.
Yeah, you're talking about Rocky Granter.
Yeah. He was, over the weekend, he was attacked by, I don't know whether the guy was an illegal, but anyway, he was attacked by a guy with a hand sledgehammer, they called it. It's a hammer. And he's
in critical condition.
He was hurt so badly they had to life flight him to a trauma center in New Jersey because it's that touch and go. And this is a guy in his late 60s, early 70s, grandfather, a good guy, but he's got this big RV with Trump banners on
Trump
it,
signs on it. So what?
And pro-police, by the way, too. They don't talk about that.
I have seen there have been people that are diehards for Democrats. Do we go beat them up with a hammer? No, we don't.
No.
It was an undocumented
but
alien.
You watch.
Was he put up to it?
You watch. The guy who did this, they'll say he was temporarily insane. They'll say he wasn't in his right mind.
Well,
They'll say he was driven to it because of the imagery from the RV that, he's so anti-Trump, and it was just too much for him to handle. They will give him a pass because he's on the left.
Remember the girl that was beat up on school?
Awful,
young lady,
fractured skull.
Fractured skull is in intensive care and the whole 9 yards.
Yep.
Well, apparently, they want to sue.
Yeah.
The school and the young girl that did it, the family.
Yeah.
But the school will not release any of the documents
about the girl or about the incident.
About anything. No, you can't have this stuff.
Do they have a court order? Do they have a court order to get it?
That's as far as I know right now. They are being blocked, every which way from Sunday from getting that information. And you have to have it because you show up in court without it. Well, do you have proof? Do you have any evidence? Because we didn't give it to you. We won't give it to you. Oh, I'm sorry.
So
the box it was in caught on fire.
This is the school that the girl went to who has the fractured skull. And this is the school that the attacker went to also?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. This is the one, by the way, if you'll remember, the girl who attacked this young girl took her by the ears and pounded her skull into the concrete multiple times. And by the way, they'll say, well, the girl who was injured was 16 and the attackee was only 14. If you saw the picture of the two, the attackee looked like an adult and the 16-year-old girl looked like a child, size-wise.
People develop at different levels, at different ages. So, it's not a race thing. It's not anything like that. It's just a heinous crime. And the person that perpetrated, they were old enough to know right from wrong and know better. Now, I don't know what, spawned the incident.
Yeah.
I don't. But that shouldn't matter because of what it came to. Unless the girl that got hurt, brought on the physical violence, and from everything that's out there, no, she did not, So I don't know what happened, and until they release that stuff, you can't sit there and get to the bottom of it unless they're on a paper trail making a project right now. And so, we got to get this file filled up.
This little girl, is she out of the hospital yet? I
haven't heard one way or the other.
Wow.
For the damage to her, she's going to be in for a while.
Oh, I know. She may end up being someone who has seizures in the future because of the damage to the brain.
She might not even know who she is, and that could happen for a long time.
This guy this grandfather who was assaulted by this guy with a sledgehammer, he was hit with a sledgehammer in the head multiple times. Think about that for a second, folks. And what? Oh my God! Just because he had an enthusiastic political opinion, he believed in Trump. For Pete's sakes, grow up, people. If you can't deal with it, if you don't like Trump, then don't like him. Hey, the answer is don't vote for him if you don't like him. All right? And if you do like him, vote enthusiastically. But don't start walking around with these personal vendettas. This is where the world is going. And I'll tell you something. I'm going to play a tape. This is in Dearborn, Michigan, over the weekend. Dearborn, Michigan has a very big Muslim population, and they are, a lot of them, I would venture to say probably most of them are very happy to be here in this country, in the USA. But there's a large segment out there that are very anti-American. You're saying, oh, cut it out, Jim. What do you mean? No, they really are. They had this rally, and I want you to hear how they were talking at the rally over the weekend in Dearborn.
We've been asked in the past, why are our protests on the International Day of Quds, why are they so anti-America? Why don't we just focus more on Israel and not talk so much about America? Gaza has shown the entire world why these protests are so anti-America. Because it's the United States government that provides the funds for all of the atrocities that we just heard about. And this is why Imam Khomeini, who declared the International Day of Quds, this is why he would say to pour all of your chants and all of your shouts upon the head of America.
That's death to America.
Malcolm X said, and I quote, "We live in one of the rottenest countries that has ever existed on this earth. It's not Genocide Joe that has to go. It's the entire system that has to go. Any system that would allow such atrocities and such devilry to happen and would support it, such a system does not deserve to exist on God's earth." And so when these fools ask us if Israel has the right to exist, the chant "Death to Israel" has become the most logical chant shouted across the world today. Imam Khomeini recognized.
Okay, enough is enough. I can't go on anymore. You get the gist of it. They are essentially, it's a jihad against America in America. If you don't like it, and now, the guy sounds, he doesn't sound like he has an accent. He sounds like he was probably brought up in Michigan. So you wonder, how does he get to be so hateful towards the world that has given him so much?
He stated it. He stated why he hates us so much, because we're the government that funds a lot of things that he's against.
Well, I think that there's a cancer that is growing in America that Biden has fueled.
Oh,
Biden has actually encouraged this. He's allowed people to come into this country who are known terrorists.
right. And that guy, say, no, we don't have to get rid of Joe. Well, actually, you do, because Joe is pitting all of this. I'm not saying our country is free of harm here, that we haven't meddled in things we shouldn't be meddling in. That's that's a well taken point. But Joe has used that as a tool, and we do need fundamental changes, but we don't need to change what we are. We just need to take some of the people that are in charge that are bad players and get rid of them. But this guy, I'm not saying he's a good guy in what he's doing, because I'm pro-Israel,
Yeah. Bill, so am I, because I think that they've been a proven ally of us in the most troubled area of the world, the Middle East. They've been reliable as far as being on our side. And without Israel, we would have no support in the Middle East whatsoever. Yeah. Now they're talking, by the way, people are saying, well, Israel's moving their troops away from Gaza. Are they resting them? If they're moving it for what I think is going to happen, I think there's going to be an attack on Israel by Iran, because they signaled it to the U.S. On Friday. They said, be aware of the fact that we may be attacking Israel at any time. Essentially, is what they said to the U.S.
I agree with that. Are they going to attack, or are they going to drop a nuke? Because they have nukes there, too.
God, Bill, that's a distinct possibility. Getting back to what we started the show off with, we may have when you hear talk like we just heard from Dearborn, Michigan, you have to wonder whether they're positioning troops because they've been warned that something major is going to happen internally.
You know, there's a big giant lesson in life that's going on here about hate and dissent towards, man against man. I had an interesting conversation on Saturday. I won't go into the depth of it. A lady by the name of Monique. Hi, Monique. I know she's listening today, by the way. But anyway, we talked about racism and hate. And, I brought up, I said, children are born innocent into the world, and we don't hate.
Sure.
But we do, as we get older, we're taught hate. We learn hate. And then some of it is just that we sit there, and at some point in time, I realize I'm white, you're a different color, and vice versa. And then all this other stuff piles in, and then things start to build. But she made an interesting point. She goes, it doesn't matter, what country you're talking about. You can be all in a country of the same color, but as we get older, we're going to find the divide amongst ourselves.
Sure.
And that's just, which is a nature of mankind, and which I'm not saying we are evil people to begin with. And we,
well, I think I would submit that we're born good. And,
we're born good, we become bad.
I don't believe we are evil to begin with. I think we're good to begin with.
We're born innocent.
Yeah, we are born innocent. I think that we're trained to be a certain way, but I also think that we can be untrained. And I think when people are educated properly, but when you have people like the guy we have in the White House right now, when they do what they did in 2020, and I know people are going to say, "Oh, you're not going back to that again." The election interference. I'm one of these people who believe that if you pay attention, I don't expect anything to happen. It's almost 2024, right? The damage literally has been done with the lie. What I'm hoping is that it won't happen again in 2024. And I was just reading today that the RNC plans to have lawyers at every polling spot in the United States to make sure that it doesn't happen. Apparently, that's what we didn't have before. And apparently, lawyers, because they are officers of the court, they will be able to challenge things immediately if there's an issue. And that's a good thing. They'll be able to keep their eye on the people who have in the past done unscrupulous things. What were you going to say?
You think we're going to have a fair election this time around?
I think they're going to try desperately to steal it again, because I think they are so afraid of what's going to happen should Trump get into office. Right now, Bill, from the sidelines, Trump is pulling away big time. He's got more money. He's got more momentum and enthusiasm from his supporters. Even people who support Biden, not really terribly happy about it. And then I hear other things. I hear people saying Biden's not going to be the candidate. Trust me. By the time we get to the conventions, it isn't going to even be an issue, because Biden's either going to pull out. Something's going to happen.
Today could be the day. This could be the week that all of a sudden all bets are off for the election this fall. You never know what's going to happen in that. They're still attacking Trump, because the only way that they're going to stop Trump is to physically take him out. How do they do that? Well, they're rejecting his bond. Even though it's legit, they're rejecting his bond. We told you how they're going after all media that is conservative. So they're going after.
They're trying to reject his bond. I didn't see whether they.
No, they're trying to, but they're trying real hard, and they're trying to draw it into question. Because if they can get it set aside for even a moment, they're going to go in, try to take assets, try to lock him up, and then once they do that guy, he won't live to see the light of day next month.
And by the way, trust me, these people like Letitia James, they know what is going to happen should Trump get into office. He's not going to be vindictive. That's what the left is trying to say about the right. Oh, if Trump gets in, he's going to be, like you said, a dictator. No. Trump is going to, but he may be somebody who implements justice fairly. And there's a difference between vindictiveness and justice. Trust me. Vindictiveness is you go after people that you have no business going after because you just don't like them. The other thing is justice, when you're going after people who've done wrong and seemingly got away with it. I mean, people could say that Biden has been one corrupt act after another. He's taken the Justice Department and made it an arm of his administration, so that he's using it as a weapon against his political, for the first time in the history of our country, by the way. And you may say, well, maybe the times call for it. Well, hey, we had a civil war, and Lincoln didn't use the Justice Department like Biden has. You know, he was more compassionate towards Jefferson Davis than Biden is toward Trump. Biden wants Trump, like you said, Bill. He wants him literally off the game board.
Anybody that has, cast a word of doubt against Biden, even just a word of doubt, has been sought after by the DOJ, the SEC, the IRS, you name any government agent.
Right.
If they've said something bad about Joe, get him.
Yeah.
Get him. Lock him up. And that's that. This is, he's not Frankenstein, he's Crankenstein. He is a grumpy, senile, old man, and he should not be in the White House. I don't think, my opinion, he didn't get in there legitimately.
On Friday, I was listening to Dan Bongino, and even if you don't like Dan Bongino, I like him. I think he's a smart young guy. He's had a phenomenal background. In case you're not aware of Dan's background, he was a Secret Service agent for, I think, 10 years. He was a New York City cop for a few years, but he said, I know Joe Biden. Okay, this is what Dan said. I know Joe Biden, and he's an evil, vindictive, all the things that you just said, he said. He said he's not a nice guy.
He never has been.
No, he has not.
No, he has not been, and he's a liar. You sit there and he makes stuff up as he goes. He's always done that. He's always been a liar. He makes stuff up. Doesn't matter how far-fetched it is. He throws it out there. He does deliver a good speech, which is really strange for a guy who stutters.
Joe?
Yeah, he used to, now. Yeah. Well, I think that's on purpose now, but he used to sit there and talk real fast and have a lot of things to say, and he kept talking so that you didn't have time to process it all, but he kept moving real fast. And I was going, boy, for a guy that stutters, he can really, sing through those words really quick. Yeah. And I mean, more so I trip over my own tongue.
Joe, just last week at the bridge, Joe said this.
Today, my administration is announcing the first tranche of dislocated worker grants, fancy phrase, which is dimes. All it is there to make sure it helps create jobs for workers involved in the cleanup of this incident.
Okay, so if you missed what he said, environment, and my boss service and then the burden of workers and the temperature fans.
He's doing that. Some of it is old age, some of it is on purpose, because if he does it that way, he can say, oh, here's what I said. I told you exactly what I'm going to do. Tax, a lot of money.
Can I quote you on that, Mr. President?
You a lot of money.
But you know what amazes me about this sycophant, ridiculous media that we have is they don't say, excuse me, sir? We didn't quite understand what you just said. Could you repeat that, sir?
You weren't listening?
No, they don't even question it in this media anymore. They just go, oh, okay, you get that, Charlie?
Yeah, I think it's unanimous. This guy is an idiot and should go. But the Democrats, and I really actually think they know exactly who they're going to plug in, but they just can't tell you because you wouldn't believe it if you heard it. And no, I'm not saying I know who it is.
I hear Michelle Obama. I think that's the furthest thing from the truth, because I don't think she would win. They did a poll last week, and they said
they don't need your vote for her to win.
Yeah, but trust me, I think you're going to find some interesting things out about her or him that you will be surprised if you're not paying attention. Also, did you hear Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who was a big Biden supporter in 2020?
Recanting that he ever endorsed him.
Listen what he said.
You made that endorsement in 2020. Are you happy with the state of America?
Am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, that answer is no. Do I believe we're going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy, and I believe we can get better. the endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at that time. And I thought back then, when we talk about, hey, I'm in this position where I have some influence, and it's my job then. I felt like that then. It's my job now to exercise my influence and share with this is who I'm going to endorse. Am I going to do that again this year? That answer is no.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I was thinking about this. This is a relatively new phenomenon, last 30 years or so, where all of a sudden these these celebrities think that they should be endorsing political situations. If you go back to like Clark Gable and Cary Grant and Spencer Tracy and all these great actors, during the political eras, during the war, they supported the U.S. effort, but you didn't see them out there, throwing their weight behind publicly certain political positions for the most part. Now, it was a different time. Social media didn't exist. It was a much more controlled media environment. They could keep people silent even if they didn't want to be. Nowadays, you can't shut people up. They can go on the internet and say what they want to say when they want to say it. But the smart entertainers, for the most part, stay out of politics. Because they know that people from both sides of the aisle go to movies, and it's not worth it.
Yeah, they think that their stage is a pulpit to preach what they believe. And, you got to look at stars. I'm not casting anything on The Rock in particular, but I'm saying, for the most part, you look at these people and you sit there and look at the quality of their life, not what they have, but what pieces of crap they really are. And they're telling you who to vote for. Makes
That's
a lot
a good
of
point.
sense to me.
Yeah, they're sort of like P. Diddy, right? P. Diddy.
Yeah. If P. Diddy wanted to say, really, you need to find a piece of audio where P. Diddy's out promoting Joe Biden because, look at him. He's,
Hey, I think we still have time. I'm going to play this.
Sure.
Jesse Waters was talking about P. Diddy on Friday's show. Listen.
Fox News alert. Diddy's ex-girlfriend's cooperating with the feds. Sources tell TMZ she's been helping them for a few weeks. She could be the reason why his homes were raided. She accused him of rape, abuse, sex trafficking. Remember, Diddy was a major Democrat community organizer and an alleged FBI informant. Our cameras caught him riding his bike in Miami, and it looks like he doesn't have a care in the world. He's been quiet lately, but his right-hand man has been doing a lot of talking. Stevie J, a producer who's also named in one of the lawsuits and was in Diddy's house when it was raided, went on TMZ Live to defend his boss. Listen.
I don't know whatever someone does in their bedroom, that's what they do. I don't got nothing to do with that. I'm just here to say that I've never seen my man doing anything foul like they talking about.
None of it. All of it. I mean,
I've never seen it. I've known him for 29 years.
But that wasn't all Stevie J did. He sent out a warning shot, posting video of celebrities at Diddy's 50th birthday party. The Kardashians, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Kanye, Kevin Hart, every A-lister was there. And Stevie J wants to remind them. Remember, the lawsuit says Diddy has compromising footage of everyone that went to his freak-off parties. Now, we're not saying this is a freak-off party or Diddy has compromising video on any of these people, but this is what Diddy's bodyguard said.
I don't think it's only celebrities going to be shook. He had politicians in there. He had princes in there. He also had a couple of preachers in there.
You personally, you think they got tapes?
Well, my personal opinion that if Lil Rob could be trusted and his statements are true, they got him. They got tapes and stuff.
Now, if Diddy had tapes, the feds have them. That's a lot of blackmail.
Wow. Think about it for a second. One of his guys came out and said, no, I've never seen Diddy do this. For 29 years, I've known him nothing, right? But the other guy, the bodyguard, says, no, he's got videotape of everybody. But the bodyguard who was defending P. Diddy, in the same breath, showed a videotape of all these different people who were at a party. It was like a warning shot to keep your mouth shut, So I don't know. With this smoke, there's fire, right?
Yeah, I got two things to say about that, not necessarily in order. First, I'll say, get the freak out of here, because he was talking about freak. But, if they've got tapes like that, it just makes you wonder who they got that's on the list, because if anything, that's going to get him off the hook. And yeah, the FBI wants it. Joe wants it. Anybody that's that could be on those tapes, they're going, we gotta get those tapes, not necessarily to help Diddy out, but we got to get those tapes so that they don't get out there. So sure, the FBI is going to go in there, because who heads up the FBI? And let's get those tapes and get rid of them.
Yeah, well, you think they would learn? First of all,
politicians, preachers, come on.
Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy. If anything, you should learn from those two situations is if you go to their house, be in your best behavior. Right? Do not do anything out of the ordinary. Do not.
You made a mistake when you went to their house.
That's true. But if you happen to be there, let's say you're going there to just say hello. Be very proper, because you're being videotaped. I mean, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, there's a camera rolling. They have more footage than the entire uncut version of Gone with the Wind.
Creative editing, though. I mean, somebody can catch you where they told you a joke and your head's bobbed back and you're laughing.
That's true.
And then some young lady in barely anything on can trip right in front of you, and her tongue catches the inside of the thigh of your pants.
Up,
but the picture says a whole different story. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's all in the angle, as they would say.
The angle, the angle of the dangle.
Hey, listen, no. I think enough is enough. I didn't say that. Hey, listen, friends, that's going to do it. If you want to give us a call, our number is 833-538-7868, 833-538-7868.
Hey, did you know wearing jeans now is an environmental hazard? Maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. Mail at itsanotherday.com, mail at jimandbill.com, and jimandbill@mail.com.
I like that. I like that little tease there, bro. I like that. Keep them waiting. Keep them wanting more. Jeans could be an environmental hazard. Ooh.
Yes, and I'm wearing them right now.
Well, you're an environmental hazard.
I've been told that so many times, and you know what I say when somebody tells me that?
I know. I got a feeling.
Hasta la vista, baby. I'm out of here.
This is CRN America.